Hi everyone, welcome back to Novel Nomad and welcome to week 3 or the wrap up of week 3 of Quarantine-athon. This week's prompt was to read a book featuring an essential worker, basically someone who is going out and still working in our society to make sure we can get food, we can have health services, all these wonderful people who are still doing their best and going out and exposing themselves to make sure other people can survive through this quarantine. Now of course I picked The Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. This one is quite an easy pick basically because it's in the name. The woman works in a convenience store. Keiko works for a convenience store. However, this is incredibly short and it's incredibly weird. What I love about this one, it kind of filters into that aesthetic of the Japanese slice of life story, where they're giving you this story of just a regular woman going about her regular routine and something that she experiences, or something that she experiences a sort of melancholy within society. So this one was quite fascinating because it was about a woman, Keiko, who could never quite find where she was supposed to fit into society. She was never deemed normal. She could never attain that normal status. So she basically fumbled through life, fumbled through school, wasn't quite what other kids who wanted to hang out with. It was always a shock that when the teachers would find something really weird that she was doing and would draw her parents in, and they would always be trying to make her normal. Even her younger sister would always be trying to make her appear normal, give her different cues and things and instructions so she could act normal, which I found quite interesting because it was almost like a rejection of her individuality from a very, very young age. So that was quite interesting. Straight off the bat you have this kind of rejection of this individuality. And so what Keiko does is she actually applies for a job after school when she's was just about to go to university, to work at a convenience store. And it's quite fascinating because she gets this manual of how you are supposed to act in a convenience store, what you're supposed to do, your priorities. And so she manages to find a life where she can have acceptance, where she finds her normal within a very, very small field within the convenience store. It is basically like an aquarium bubble. She often refers to it as that, and it's quite fascinating. So it refers to the store as if it's talking to her, or she can understand the language of the store. So it's basically someone who has been constantly denied their place or their right to exist within this place because they're not suiting the norm. So as soon as she has understandable rules within a structure, within the convenience store, that's when she can finally blossom. So you have this very, very dark streak throughout, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't do it in one sitting. I did it over 3 days. I broke it up. I didn't want to rush it. I really wanted to absorb this one. The first page, I'm like, this isn't going to be a rush story. And I really appreciated taking my time with that. And it was quite interesting because you saw Keiko within the store, you saw her having these experiences, basically being like this model employee to the point where she almost had no other existence beyond that. And it was really interesting to see her like interacting with her sister and her family outside of the convenience store, and also with friends, old school friends, and how they would always say, no, what's going on with you? Haven't seen you in a while. Oh, my husband's great. I'm having a baby. All these different things. And she would always think it was acceptable to always be saying that she worked at a convenience store. But until she's in this book, when we meet her, she's at the age of about 36. And it's suddenly not okay. She's been in the same job for 18 years and it's not okay anymore. And so she rapidly starts trying to find a way to suddenly become accepted again within her society. And that is by adopting a once past employee who is completely hopeless and pretending that they were together. That was really weird, mainly because she used terms of like a pet for him. She kept him as such, and so but his attitude was really weird, so he never fit in society either. and he always viewed society as, you know, saying, oh, it's all back in the caveman days, it's still the same thing, you have to be pretty and you have to be, you know, you have to have a usable uterus to be welcome part of society. And so he was breaking down the experience that she basically had felt, or never really understood, and he was breaking that down in terms of human development, which I found really interesting, where she had a very machinist approach. So everything was like a machine. So this whole mechanized society that run incredibly like clockwork around this 24-hour convenience store kind of routine, that was her existence and that was her understanding of reality. So it was incredibly fascinating. For such a small book, it has such an impact. I did enjoy it. I think the translation, there was a bit of Japanese in there as well, and I mean, understanding Japanese culture a little bit more than I'm sure some other new readers to Japanese fiction, it probably is one that if you've had a bit of exposure to Japanese manga, anime, J-dramas, anything like that, if you had exposure to Japanese culture, it probably makes it a bit easier to understand, and also to kind of see that social criticism that this book is really honing in on. Like, what is a human's value to society? Is society still expecting us to maintain certain norms, or is their ability to branch out and become an individual? And ultimately by the end of this book she does, because she refuses what she must do to be acceptable, to go back to what she knows and what she's comfortable with and where she's truly happy. So that was a really interesting rejection of societal norms in order of the society machine, which is very weird, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. So I definitely recommend. Otherwise, next week, prompt 4 is to read a book featuring something that you've missed. And I will be reading, I'm very excited for too, by the way, the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. I've had this for donkeys and I don't know why I haven't read it yet. But I'm very, very excited to read this one because it features a very beautiful literary book club who form during the Nazi occupation of the Guernsey Islands in World War II. And I'm so excited to get to this. I feel like this will be the heartwarming, lovely book that I get to read after the very weird and offbeat one that I read this week just gone. So if you're participating in Quarantine-athon, let me know how you're going because we're nearly done. It's been very, very fast few weeks. Yeah, so let me know down below if you are participating and what you're planning to read next. But otherwise, happy reading and I'll see you next time. Bye!